Good afternoon. Today's topic, we're going to get right into it. Sports, your kid's second parent. Okay. First of all, hello everyone. Welcome back to Real Life Motherhood. I am Tequila, and I'm glad you're here. Hopefully, each live that I do leaves you better than you came. Each live, it is my hope. No, I'm working on stuff. We're gonna work on our words. May you leave better than you came. May you leave more healed than you came. That is my intention for each live. And that is my intention each time we have these discussions. Sometimes we're going to disagree, and that's okay as long as we do it respectfully. And then there are other times we are just going to have some great discussion and hopefully build community, right? So I saw a reel on IG today. If you see me looking this way, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So bear with me. I like to stay organized sometimes. um, I saw this reel where there was a man teaching his son something, right? And the reel was kind of going viral. And this dad was teaching his son how to hit and move, with the boxing gloves on, right? And I'm writing a poem about this, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But when I saw this reel, it brought up a couple things for me in particular, right? Um, First, I have a 15-year-old son. His dad, he lives with his dad who teaches him how to be a man. Things that I would not be able to teach him, he teaches him. Um, and even when we all live together, I've seen his father do boxing with him, practice boxing with him. I've seen him have like rough playing and all of that stuff. You know how moms, we're very protective over our kids, especially when dads are so aggressive. Um, but we have to let men be men with their boys, and that's something that we all have to come into account to, right? So in this case, the reel that I saw, hello, how are you? I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. How are you? So in this case, while this dad was teaching his son boxing lessons and boxing moves, right? I'm just like, it was the message for me. I was just getting so much from watching them do that as a mom. I was getting a lot from that. Even though I've seen close up what that looks like with my son and his father. I got something different this time, right? And I think it had something to do with the message that he put into the little message area, right? It's only so much I could teach my son, right? It's only, as a mom, it's only so much you could teach your son. But now that I have a daughter, which I have not had until as of the last 2 years, it's different for me. For my son, I show up and be his supporter, his cheerleader. Yes, I used to be an athlete, right? I used to be an athlete, and I used to be able to help him exercise and stuff like that. But it's only so much that I can teach him when it comes to the mentality of the game, the mentality of how men think of things differently. Because let's be for real, men and women see things differently, right? And so it was easy for me to be a teen mom and show up and have the scrimmage game poster and yelling his name and stuff like that. And being a teen mom, I'm helping to guide some of him, him and his other teammates. That's me. That's playing a role of supporter as a mom, right? And telling him to get his head in the game. I'm cool for that. I'm good for that. But now that I have a daughter, it sits and hits differently. Pun intended, because this video is about hitting differently. So this reel that I saw on IG, of this, and I want to say of this black man and black son in particular, because I feel like that's so important, made me think of my role as a mom, right? As a black mom, especially. Um, um, I'm a singer and a gym trainer. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. I'm an artist as well. You look great in this outfit. Thank you. So to get back to it, right? When I saw them training and the son getting tears in his eyes during certain moments and he's talking him through it, it dawned on me something. It dawned on me that men have to teach boys emotional regulation. Men, fathers have to teach boys emotional regulation. And even if you say you had a dad that was present in your life, if he didn't teach you emotional regulation, then what are we talking about, right? So in this case, being a mom, um, who has a daughter now. I was supposed to be one and done, y'all, one and done, but you know, it is what it is. Um, it makes me ask the question of how do I need to show up for my daughter to teach her how to be a good, I don't want to say good, a productive woman in society, a woman on her own journey. You know, how do I teach her what it's like to be a woman, right? Basically. And honestly, let me just say that I'm still learning the ways. I was never taught some of that stuff. But what I can say is sports in particular has has raised me in such a way that had I not had it, I would have been lost because I didn't have the mothering and nurturing that I should have had, right? So when I enrolled myself into sports, it taught me things that I want to teach my daughter because my son already got it. He hit with it. And here's the thing, and I'm looking at my notes in case you're just coming in. Thank you for being here. Sports doesn't just build your body up, right? It doesn't just build your body, make you look firm, make you look in shape and all of that stuff. It builds your mind. It builds your emotional strength. It builds your resilience during a time when maybe some hard times or whatever you're going through too. And today we're going to talk about what that means if you're a mom and you're raising a girl, or if you're a dad in the room and you're watching, um, and you're doing these things with your son already. Kudos. If you're not, maybe you could change some things up because it's never too late. If you have grown adult children, it's still never too late to help them with the mindset. It's still never too late to say, hey, let me help them kind of box in the game of life. Let me help them to kind of like whatever terminology you want to use that pertains to sports, right? Any sports analogy. Um, for me, it was basketball. You know, I like playing basketball. My daughter, this is her ball, and she actually she plays with my basketball as well. And I was also like in JROTC and did like trainings and won awards and stuff like that for being Iron Woman and all of that stuff. So it helped me during times that was so hard growing up in Miami, and family that abused alcohol and family that abused drugs, who were um not as attentive as they should have been because of that. And so sports helped me to keep my mindset and keep my mind clear, right? It helped me to get the energy out, the anger out, whatever I needed to get out. It helped me with that. So as a mom, right? And if you're watching, you could be a dad too. It doesn't matter. The same applies, right? I'm thinking about my story, and every time my daughter picks up her little plastic ball or she gets my ball, I'm thinking of different ways that I can teach her through what I learned, and also to go back to the real that I saw this man do with his son. And like I'm starting to see a lot more with men who are teaching young boys, and I'm so happy to see that because there's a generation who lacked that. There is a generation who didn't have that type of male bonding and having men to guide them on the journey. You know what I mean? So um, in this case, I grew up playing basketball, and honestly, the court gave me things that home couldn't. Let's just be real. The court gave me things that home couldn't. It taught me how to take a hit and keep moving. And I got elbowed so many times. I got scratched so many times playing basketball. People done ran over my ankle and everything. Okay, um, so it taught me how to take a hit and keep moving, how to lose and show up. the next day in any way, despite how you might want to just stay in the bed after a loss, it teaches you to get up and keep it moving, right? Um, it also teaches you how to be coached, um, to hear correction and not fall apart at the correction, which is probably why when somebody tells me something, I'm not like destroyed by it. I keep it moving because, okay, I've been coached through life in sports, and I do that for others. So to hear correction and not fall apart. And then it teaches you how to regulate your emotions, how to regulate your emotions when pressure is on. Not to say like, I succeeded in every aspect of life flawlessly, right? But I have noticed the moments that are hard, how I react or don't react, what I say and don't say, right? And I think it's very important that we teach our kids that way. I think it's very important to learn how to take accountability and fix what you done or said, right? I think it's very important that we model certain behaviors so that kids can model the same. You know what I'm saying? So in this case, nobody was teaching me that at home. No one, because everybody was just so lit up all the time and attempting to numb their issues and their problems that they didn't have time to just sit and talk about feelings or talk about what's on your mind. They never even asked. So there was no one nurturing that part for me. The basketball did. Anytime I did any physical activity, it did, right? So the game was mothering me. Jumping fences was mothering me. Climbing trees was mothering me. Um, do running my 5K race mothered me, and in ways I didn't even recognize until I became a mother myself. You see what I'm saying? Whew, that was a lot to get out. But let me see what you guys are saying. Thoughts on dating a woman with kids. I want a woman's perspective. That's a whole separate life, and I'm a woman with kids, so I don't know. You might have to ask somebody else with that. uh, Being able to take constructive criticism is a key skill. 100%. It is a key skill, and it takes us letting down. Like I said in my last video, you have to remove your best friend's ego and pride. They are best buddies, and they come to join you each and every opportunity you let them in the door. And so in this case, um when it comes to training up your child, if you allow them, I'm going to use allow very loosely here, to play a sport or to be involved in some type of physical activity, especially if it has structure and order, it's going to bring out a side of them that is very mature, emotionally intelligent, and is going to help them navigate this life more efficiently and effectively. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So, um, to go back to the reel that I saw on IG of this father teaching his dad the boxing skills, and his eyes welling up, right? When I saw that dad, I, he was also teaching him and talking him through it. Telling him, "Hey, breathe, relax. As a man, you're gonna get hit so many times in this life. You're gonna get hit from the left to the right, from each this way, that way. You got to be prepared. You have to keep your mind in the game. You can't let distractions get you. You can't let your emotion. Oh, that was the major part. You can't let your emotions get you all over the place. You have to stay focused on what's the thing at hand, right? You have to stay focused." And the more I listened to him in his calm, natural voice, he wasn't yelling at him. He was simply talking to him and telling him through every hit as he puts his hands up and he's hitting. I don't know what you call that. Hey, whatever. I don't know the boxing terminology. But he was literally guiding him through every hit. And whenever his son, you can see the son's guard kind of coming down when he didn't do it right, or when um he was just emotional, he would guide him. And I feel like a lot of people don't have that. And for me in particular, I think it's very important that I show up a certain way so that my daughter could see how it is to navigate this life as a woman. I don't always get it right, but I will say that I do my best to correct myself. And I think that's more important than anything, because I don't want to ever have to make her feel like she has to be superb, or like uh uh God dog it, spotless, unblemished, or just impeccable all the way around. Like she has to go through life polished all day every day, because that's not even realistic, right? So all that to say, right? I'm looking into getting her into some type of activity, some type of tumbling or something like that, so that she can start her process of physical activity. At some point, it's going to be swimming. At some point, it's going to be other activities. My son is going. Well, he goes to the gym. He plays basketball with his friends. He's going to be starting back football this year. I love that, especially as a former athlete and who's going to be back on my game as far as doing my 5Ks and stuff. I love that, because when I'm not around you, you have other people, you have the sport, you got the game to mother you. And when I say mother you, I mean like to support you, to keep you going and motivate you, to make you see things from a different perspective, to push you, to what I'm saying, like mothering as far as nurturing, as far as like it's okay, you messed up this time but keep going type of thing. You know what I mean? So um for my toddler, right? For my toddler, I want her to learn early that hard things don't break you unless you allow it. You fail, you get up, you do it again. You fail, you get up, you do it again. And it's something that I have to constantly remind myself of too. Because things are gonna be hard. Things are hard. But you get to choose your heart, and get to choose and decide how hard you want to continue to make it. You can make it easier than what it has to be, or you can continue to make it hard. You can make it harder, right? And I think for many people, they prefer to make things harder because they're already used to the hard. So why not make it harder? Why though? Porque why? So in this case, raising a little girl now. My son, he's 15. He got 3 more years until he's 18 and out of high school. Like that's not something light to me. That's a heavy responsibility. I'm glad that I've had the chance to homeschool him at a certain point of his life, and we got to bond and connect, and I got to nurture him and teach him certain things and all of that stuff, how to be an independent thinker and all of that stuff. But I'm also glad now, and that's when his father and I were together and married. But now with him being with his dad, he get to see another side to it. He gets to build with his hands. He gets to, whatever the case, go paint a house or something. He gets to go do the other stuff that teaches him how to be a man. It's still physical activity. And with my daughter, um, she gets to learn from me. She gets to learn what it's like to have emotional regulation, and when I don't have it, she sees that as well, and I don't want her to see that. So I'm still working on myself as well, in that matter. And so for the most part, I do well, but there are some moments I'm just like, leave me alone. But so in this case, when I'm like sports is the second parent, it's because literally you have coaches who are there teaching your parent, you're teaching your kids in the um when you're not around, or teaching your kids, um and you're trusting them to teach your kids and to motivate your kids and to guide them, because these are going to be principles that they learn and take with them throughout life. When you're in a sport, it those practices and the lessons stick with you and hold on to you throughout your entire life. I still keep some things in my head. I still, to this day, that motivates me and gets me through life. And I still remember the coaches, and I still remember my professors, and I still remember my teachers. Everything that people have instilled in me are still living in me to this day and keeps me going. So when I'm not around, it is when I'm not around, it is my, I don't want to say hope. May the lessons that my children learn from sports or from those who are coaching them remain there in their brains to where they use it to grow, to build connections and relationships around them, to build great reputations and legacy for themselves. I'm attempting to get it out. It's a lot. Okay. I do got notes here, but my brain goes the way it goes. So what am I saying? So for the mamas, right? For the mamas. I mean, you could be a dad on here too. It doesn't matter. Let me see what you say. You're the best. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, so for the moms, and I specifically want to talk to moms right now because this is real life motherhood, right? This is real life motherhood, and I can only relate because I'm a mom. I'm not a dad, right? So, um, and I just want to say this for motivational purposes. I want to talk to the moms watching who maybe didn't have that nurturing growing up either, because that's my life too, right? That was my life. And who had to find it somewhere else. Many girls find it in the wrong ways, and then there are others who find it in a coach, a sport, a teacher, a church, whatever that is constructive or productive, right? And I want you to know that either way, if you are choosing to change that or model a certain behavior for your kids, like you're choosing it, you're working on yourself each day, you are breaking the cycle. You are breaking that cycle by just being intentional. You are breaking the cycle just by asking the question. And maybe you didn't ask the question in this way because maybe just my brain just be asking. But I'm here for you and articulate in ways that you may not be able to. But when I think and I'm looking at my daughter and I'm like, what do I want to build for my child that nobody built for me? What do I want to build for my kids? Because even though my son is up there now, he still needs a certain level of love and support from me, right? But what do I want to build in my child that no one built in me? And it's a very important question that sticks with me each day, and I do my best to show up as that, so that I know that she is modeling someone of integrity, of character, of truth, of perseverance, of someone who is constantly attempting to undo what was already done and to heal. And that's generational healing in real time. And even though it's hard and it's difficult to undo some of the wiring, even when you see it around you in some people, I still have to press forward because I'm raising little human beings who will someday become adults. And whatever I instill in them, they're going to grow up with. Whatever sports they're in and what's instilled in them, they're going to grow up in and grow up with, right? So that's why I say sports is like the second parent, because the times that I haven't been around for my son, I can count on his coaches being there. The times when his dad wasn't, he had to work and stuff like that, he wasn't around, we can count on his coaches to be at him about something, to motivate him and tell him to keep his head straight and keep, it's a second parent. It's a second parent. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to be involved in some type of way. I think that a part of me is a little bit sad that I couldn't play basketball all the way through because my mom couldn't afford it. And I couldn't do some of the events that some of the other girls did in basketball. And I was only able to do a few things and go to practice sometimes. And sometimes I wish that I was able to do more if I had the opportunity, I could have been in the WNBA. Who knows? And the WNBA don't even get funded like they should. But there's going to be a time where it's going to improve, right? And they will get, you know, reap more of what they should receive. But I believe had I had more opportunity, my life would be different. It would look different. But that's okay because everything happens for reasons. But I will say that I plan to get my daughter into some type of physical activity, some type of sport, really soon, so that she can start her learning because kids are soaking up things constantly, especially when they're young. And to be in something like gymnastics or a tumbling class or swimming or something like that can help, especially when there's somebody outside of mom teaching, you know, like a coach in some sort. So that's basically what this live is about. Um, and I'm a hands-on parent. I'm that parent who has to be there. I need to be there at each game and each meeting. I need to be there, you know. And I have been there for my son. So now that he's older and he lives with his dad gets to do that with him. But now it's time for my daughter's. It's time for my daughter to have that opportunity and that support, you know. So anyway, I want to say, did you play sports growing up? That's my question. I got 3 questions actually. Did you play sports growing up? Right. Um, Drop it in the comments if you're doing the replay. Make sure you are going to the top right hand corner if you are currently viewing me. And if you are doing the replay, to make sure you comment and like the video so that the algorithm know that you want me to have more discussions. And so it could push the video because that's important on YouTube, right? And I want to grow this channel and monetize it. Um, okay, so that's the first question. Did you play sports growing up? And if you see me looking this way, I'm looking at my screen and my notes. What did sports teach you that home couldn't? What did sports teach you that home couldn't? And the third one is, are your kids playing any sports? Or if you already grew up your kids, did they play any sports? And were you active? Do you wish you were more active? Or, you know, like, um, just any of those questions, if you can answer, that would be great. Or if you just want to just, you know, watch and let it sit with you, you know, I would hope that you could just drop something for the algorithm's sake, even if you just put a heart. Um, so yeah, that's what this conversation was about. And if I want to close out or anything, if I want to close out, I want to say, I want you to know you don't have to be the most impeccable, immaculate, magnificent parent ever, because you are going to have your downfalls and make your mistakes, right? It's a matter of how you redeem yourself with your kids. Um, you could still give them a powerful childhood and you can still give them a powerful adulthood if you are willing to still coach them in life. If you are willing to show up and show face. If you are willing to be and stay intentional. So that's the message for today. I am attempting to be more consistent with going live, which actually helps the algorithm to get more views and to push the videos more and push my page more. So it is my hope that you guys, that you ladies and gentlemen, you moms and dads, specifically moms, because this is a mom channel, but you know, both, that we learn how to come into community to change the next generations, Not to say that all traditions have to be changed, some things to stay the same, but I feel like some of them need to change. The ideologies and all of that, it needs to be reevaluated so that we can parent differently, so that we can parent according to the era and not according to what we were just taught. Um, and that's one of the things I can say as a millennial mom, that I've learned to adjust based on my children's era, their personality types, and learning and growing into who they are, as well as healing parts of me that may have been unhealthy from my own parenting. So I just know that sports is something that truly helped me to sports, as well as the coaches in sports, helped me to gain a certain mindset that I still hold to this day, and that others recognize. And they're like, "Were you a drill sergeant or something?" I'm like, "No, I just, I mean, I was a JROTC, I was a commander." So they're like, "Well, there explains it." But not just that, just being in sports in general, and just having people who uh, aren't afraid to they see what you can be, and they aren't afraid to push you to that extent. And I think that many people are afraid to push those around them, especially I've seen some parents who are afraid to push their children. Even in adulthood, they are afraid to push their children because everybody just wants to tread lightly and be nice to one another. But there has to be a certain level of, okay, I know you probably don't need me on a certain level anymore, and I know that you're probably grown. However, you could I still want to nudge you in a certain way. I still want to nudge you because I've seen what you could do, I've seen what you could be, and I know what you can be. And you should strive for that. You should be that, and don't settle. And I'm always going to be the one to tell my kids that, regardless. I'm going to be that one to tell my kids that regardless, because at no point are you stuck, and at no point should you settle, right? And even for myself, I tell them that. So when my kids get to see me live out some of my passions and my dreams, and they're going to see plenty more coming from their mom, right? They're going to see plenty more coming from me. They're going to see me do more 5Ks, probably 10Ks, probably a marathon. Who knows? They're going to see me do more as an artist. They're going to see me hit the stage more. They've already seen that last summer. They're going to see me do things that I love. And that's going to inspire them to do more of what they love. Because once we become complacent, then what? I've seen like 90-year-olds still running races. I've seen, I had someone in my class before, in one of my classes, who he said he was 84 or something like that, who was going to college. It's literally never too late to do anything. It's never too late unless your brain says it's too late. I've had and communicated with people who of different backgrounds and races, and who had diagnoses and all of that. Cancer survivors, like, who are out here doing it. I mean, people who are in wheelchairs, in the poetry community. Like, I talk to these people every day, and their bravery and their willingness to continue to go on and fight and have the hard conversations, and attempt to make things better. It amazes me every day. So when I saw that reel today of this black man and his black son, and I say that specifically for a reason, but when I saw that, I said we need more examples of that. We need more, because some people feel they have to be passive with their kids. Some people feel like, well, if I provide the provision, if I get provision, then maybe that's enough. Our kids need us to show up for them in ways that we were not shown up for. Our kids need us to guide them and support them, and not to just be so nonchalant about everything. They need us, because being nonchalant and being all of that is also teaching them something. It's teaching them how to be that too. So if you're wondering why they are a certain way, you need to look at yourself. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know how things are going to be when my kids are grown. I just know that my son is 15. And I do know and see some of the things that I've instilled in him, and I see where his head is at, and I'm proud of him for that thus far. But what I will say is that my counsel will never stop. Me being a mom to him will never stop. I don't care how old he gets or how old my daughter gets. I'm still going to love them with instruction. Sometimes it may be unsolicited. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it may be unsolicited because I'm their mom. But other times it's going to be based on their personality and how I know they receive information and how I know I can best show up for them. And you have to know your kids. You have to spend time with them, and you can't just be around them yelling at them all the time, or ready to hit them at any opportunity that you get, or be too passive to where everything seems okay, but it's not. Like, it's just certain roles that we play, and this is not me telling people how to parent. I'm just throwing my thoughts and ideas out there. You can disagree with me all you want to, but I'm just saying from what I've noticed based on how I was parented, based on the conversations I've held with other people who were parented the way that they were parented, based on the level of mommy issues that I see in people, especially men. Whew, and based on the absent fathers who, you know, who some encounter. And just based on my overall story, when it goes back to me, because I can't talk about anybody else's story except mine, right? I can see it in other people and they run from it, but I can only face my stuff, right? And that's going to show up differently for everybody. But I just know for me, and this reel that I saw, it was very powerful, and I made more men show up that way, and not just for the gram, and not just for likes, and not just for to make themselves look good and their ego and their pride and their the best friends who they refuse to get rid of. Made more men continue to show up in that way for the kids because it's needed. And sometimes it may not just be your kids, it may be other people's kids. I've seen that too. It's a beautiful sight to see. So yeah. So if your kids aren't playing any sports, maybe think about getting them to one. And if you don't want them to play a sport, hey, chess is another thing you can get them to play. My son knows how to play chess and sports. And his dad teaches him how to play chess. He taught him how to play chess. Not even me. So, there you go with that. That's what I mean by more men are showing up. So as a mom, I want to make sure I'm showing up in the way that my daughter sees. That she's like, hey, my mom is that mom, and that's how I want to be when I'm older, or that's the type of woman that I aim to strive to be. And it is my may I show up authentically each and every time, and not that I have to ever perform a certain role so that she knows she can be her and still be powerful. Yeah. So that's it. Sports, your kids, second parent. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. If there's anything that resonated with you, be sure to let me know in the comments. If you would like to hear a certain topic, let me know. I heard that somebody said about the dating women with kids, something like that. Maybe that's something I'll talk about. I'll think about it. Might not be my area of expertise, but I can just give my opinion and my viewpoint, because I am a woman who has been on both sides. So we'll see if that's a topic that I decide to talk about. But other than that, I hope you learned something from this video, whether it's about yourself, others, or how you aim to be. May you leave better than what you came. May you leave more healed than what you came. And if not, may you continue to find your way. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And I just realized that my mic has been off this whole entire time. So hopefully you heard me. Until next time. time. Y'all take care. Peace.